Oh, I went way too far past. CM... There it is. Alright, we'll start with chapped. I did a PB earlier today as well, or yesterday. I did a .46. And so first, let's just have a look at the replay. Starts very straightforward. Straightforward SD into the turnover. Nice lag. Now here, there's actually two ways to go about that SD. I choose the split because it's more comfortable for me. Nice cam. Alright. So we go from the beginning. Nothing really special to look at. However, let's go to the first jump. What I actually do here... Oh wow, that's really slow. I actually try to land on a small enough angle so I get a cheeky little 0.2 of a second SD out of it for a little bit of a speed boost. Doesn't always work, but in this case it did. Now in the turnover, you want a soft entry and a soft exit. Now, depending on your speed after this turnover will determine what SD is better. If your speed right here, let's say right there, is 540 or lower, you will go to the left. You will go over here and you will do one big SD. Whereas if it's higher, which in my case it was 547 I think, you go over here to the right side. And depending how high your speed actually is will determine how far over to the right you go. So because my speed was so high, I went very far to the right. Now if you do split, do it stop the first SD just before the checkpoint. So from here, you want to stop it right about there, just after this blue apex. And then, try to start the second SD as far to the inside as possible, while still going up the hill. But, that's only if you're on this side. If you're on this side, you want to try hit it around the middle, right there. And the reason for that is this section up here, you don't want to jump. If you jump, it runs over. You've lost a lot of time. However, because this section is very tight, you want to enter the wall ride as early as you possibly can to maintain your speed. Nice and low, try not to go above this line here. Keep your car below the orange line at all times. A long exit, try to get a little bit of a slide to the right on the way out if you can. This sets up an easy ride trick. You want to ride to the left. The left is actually a little bit faster than riding to the right, because you land a little bit sooner. Now you want to keep your skids very tight here, because it is high speed. Now I actually did my line a bit too tight. I actually lost a bit of speed because of my line. Normally, you want these wheels to be just outside the blue line. That's the perfect line for this SD. Because you end up here, and that gives you a perfect entry into the loop, which maintains your speed. Now you notice, at the end of this loop, I get a little bounce. Let's have a look at it in slow motion. Well, it doesn't really do it here. But yeah, just watch at the exit of the loop. I get a little bounce, and then I SD to the left. Try to avoid the bump. Try to avoid hitting this bump. You want to hit it as close to it as you can without jumping. And then SD to the left, a little left-right SD, straightforward turnover. Now here, you can actually start the SD immediately after the booster, but it is very difficult. You need very good timing to do it. I choose the safe way and start the SD at this checkpoint here. Now here, this is actually a very difficult turnover to execute. Now there are two ways you can do it. You can do it the safe, straightforward way, you just head straight towards it and then just do it as normal. Or for a slightly faster way, just before you enter it, you SD to the left and control the slide up. It does give you a little bit of a speed boost. And then you want to exit to the right. One, so that you don't slide too much in the turnover, maintaining your speed, and so you can have room for an SD to the left at the exit. Next, do a hard ride trick to the right, and land at a slight angle to get an SD. Straight loop, go a little bit left, no slide into the wall, and then a straightforward finish. Anything you want me to go over again? Anything you didn't understand? Or should I just move on to the next map? Let's have a look at it one more time and see if you understand it a bit better. So a little bit of a cheeky SD, straightforward. Remember, a tight line because it was a fast turnover. And because I was further to the right, I go more to the inside. Early wall entry, right to the left. Bump after the loop. Now let me change that camera actually, at the loop, so you can see it a bit better. Hang on. Oh god, what the hell? Alright, let's have a look. Let's have a look at this in slow motion. You'll see it slightly bump. You can see the wheels lifting off the ground. Actually. We've changed the camera. Oh god. Oh, this camera's weird. Okay. Where is it? No, it's not this one. Hang on, where are we in the map? Alright, that's the start. Oh, we're up here. Right. Oh, I'm so bad at controlling this camera. Jesus. That's it there. Alright, we want to be over here, apparently. No? Where does that go? Hang on, I'm confused now. Oh, wait, that's the end, I think. Alright, so that's... Let's just follow this around. That's the wall ride. Oh, I was too far over, that's why. There we go. Alright, I got it now. Look, you can see it right there. The wheels have lifted off the ground slightly. Play it in slow motion. Weird, it doesn't show it there. That's way too fast. Oh god. There it is, see? Lift slightly off the ground. That looks weird. Yeah, but the bump starts roughly there and finishes here. Yeah. Because that little bump, you lose grip, so you can just start the SD straight away. Oh, hang on, don't go back to the menu. Oops. Yeah, that's exactly right. And because I was turning, because I turned as soon as I exited, it bounced. I don't know why it specifically does that. But there we go. Alright, other than the bump, is there anything else that isn't clear, that you didn't understand? I'll go over it again in one go. Straightforward start, tight lines, nothing special. The second SD if you're slow, okay, I can do that. The first SD, it all depends on the exit here. Whatever your speed is at this point will tell you which SD you're gonna do. The number you're looking for is 540. If it's higher than 540, you will go to the right. If it's lower, you go to the left. And the reason you go to the left is for a longer, wider SD, which gives you that extra speed bonus to catch back up. Whereas if you're at above 540, you need to go to the right and get a tighter line. Because if you try to do one SD, you go too wide and you jump at the top. Anything else? In this PB, I have 547. I think I have it on. I think there's a clip of it. Oh no, there isn't, because I did it offline. Well, off stream. Best I've ever had was 549. But that was ridiculous. I had a very wide SD beforehand. Alright, let's go on to the next map. Ah, this one's interesting actually. I like this one. Alright, there's a lot. Okay, let's just have a look. Let's just have a look at the replay. And then I'll break down each bit, each important bit. Okay, that's a lot to take in, a lot to explain. So let's start with the first jump, or the second jump I should say. I like to go on the left just because it's tighter line, slightly more time gained. Now here, you actually want to do the ride early, and it'll actually reverse the direction. So I did a ride to the right, but the roll of the car made it go left because I did it so early. And that is a consistent way to do that jump. And you don't even have to turn or do anything after that. It will just ride or nosedive most of the time. It is a bit random, but I'd say 70% of the time it does a nosedive or a hard roll, so it's very good. Now here, you want to stay to the right, and then start as far left as you can for the uphill SD to maintain speed. Now here, the main thing here is airtime. You want to reduce the airtime here as much as possible. And there's also two things you can do. You can either SD on here, or you can do an S4D after the checkpoint. I personally choose to do an SD here. It just works better for me. Now here, riding to the left actually gives you an earlier, faster landing than riding to the right. Hence why I ride to the left there. Straight loop as possible, a little bit of a grass slide. Now here, if you are on the left side of these arrows, you are too low and you won't SD. If you're on the arrow, that's the perfect spot. Now the infamous tube SD, I actually do two tube slides here. One at the entrance, right there. I basically just maintain the SD and then slowly turn into the tube. Just a few inputs of right. You can probably see it a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Now, when I do the SD in the tube, when I'm right about here, I turn a little bit to the right, and then when I'm here, I start to turn left to maintain the slide. You could probably tell just by the sound. And then low wall, keep it as low as possible. Now that's actually a very hard SD to do. Now what I try to do is I try to turn right about there, as if I'm trying to hit there. But because it triggers the SD, I'll miss it. Straightforward SD, keep it tight. Aggressive. In this turn over here, you want to be more aggressive. So you want to put more of a left input once you start here, once you get into the turnover entrance. Now that bit there is actually a magnet that you won't be in the air. That's actually a road, so you want to drive straight on there. So my inputs, here I'm turning slightly right, there I'm straight, there I turn slightly right to start the SD. Ride trick, that's actually a magnet, very easy to go down there. Avoid the bump. Now here, don't hit that ram. You want to go around it and start the SD a bit later. Now the reason I do that is so I get an earlier entrance into the next wall ride, which gives me more speed. SD out of the wall, tight line. Now what I normally try to do, I failed in on this run. At the end, I try to clip that ram to start the SD. It gives you about 0.03 on the end. In this case I didn't do it, but that's okay. It's still a good time nonetheless. Any questions so far? Anything that didn't make any sense? Now, you saw the replay before. See how much more of it you can understand now. The reverse ride. Murphy, I choose not to, purely because it's a huge risk. And it's more comfortable just to stay in the middle, clip the ram. I actually like this map the best, Flexine, or Frexine. Just because it's so technical, there's a lot to think about. Now this one's just a bitch. I think it can be faster because you can actually SD on the dirt, but it's just so much easier to get a straight turnover and exit, and then just use the ram. Alright, this motherfucker. Stupid auto mod. Hang on, sorry about that. Ah! Try again. There is an element of randomness to this map, unfortunately. Okay, a lot to take in there. Okay, the first tube, honestly, the first SD and the first tube is what makes or breaks the run here. Let's just have a look. You can get a little bit of extra speed from a flow trick here, which is right after this checkpoint, just to give you an earlier landing, a little bit of extra speed. Now here, this is actually very important. You want to hit that corner of the booster with that wheel. That gives you the earliest possible speed boost. Now you also want to get as little airtime as possible. Here I didn't do it perfectly, but you want to jump there. And that will give you the least airtime possible. For both transitions actually, you'll see what I mean later. This one as well. You get the perfect airtime because your wheel goes off that corner. But it's very difficult to do. However, you can also drop there and that will give you perfect airtime as well. Now after this transition, just do a little SD up until the checkpoint, and then half turn or 3/4 turn, because your speed is 600 at this point. You don't want to slide too early. Now just after you hit the apex, you want to start the first SD to the left, then transition and SD to the right. So as you hit there, that's usually where I start my first SD. And then as you're jumping, you want to make sure you're facing to the right. So right about there is where I start to turn right. You can see it right there. My wheels are changing direction. And now this is very important. This is what makes or breaks the time here. When you SD, hold the input. Don't change it. Hold it all the way up until the entry of the wall. Once you hit the entry of the wall, let go of your input. And then when you reach the top of the tube, then you start your inputs again. In this wall, don't turn at all. Don't do anything. Just drive straight. High, also very important. You want a high wall entry. You want to land right about there. straight loop. Now this transition is very difficult. One, because you have this ram here, and if you turn too early, where do I steer? I steer to the right in this, so I'll steer downwards, but only like tap, 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 so very slowly. Now, if you drive over the ram, wait about 1/10 of a second before you steer to the left, otherwise you'll slide out. Now the important thing to get this transition perfect is to make sure your car is this side's on the flat and this side's still on the slope. So that way the car will roll like that and your front wheel will land perfectly there. That gives you a lot of speed if you do it perfectly. And here, get as close to that pole as you can. That's basically all you have to do. And then get as low a wall as you can. Try to aim for there in the wall entry. Just above the line. Now here, exit in a slide to the right and then slide to the left. And then straighten up in the loop. Use the ram, straightforward. You only need a small input because you're already heading at a rapid pace towards the turnover. I don't actually do any input until there. So I'm driving dead straight. As soon as I hit there, I do a slight input to the right. And then when I reach there, I do a slight input to the left. It's very easy, this turnover. Keep it tight, straight loop. Now here, go as close to that corner as you can without hitting that gap. AL94. So go as close to that corner as you can, go up, and then the same trick as earlier before the first turnover, where you want the car to roll so it lands as early as possible, and you just hold the SD all the way to the finish. Everything here is so hard to do, so none of this is easy at all. Okay, so let's watch the replay again and see how much more you can understand. So Dubby, in that case, just do it as a normal thing. No matter if you hit the ram or not, just wait 1/10 of a second. That way you do it every single time. So a little flow trick gives a little extra speed. And try to get as best airtime as you can for both transitions. That's what we're after here. Start the SD at the apex. Now don't turn here, remember? When you're on the wall, 0 input. Oh sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. As close to the pole as you can. Low wall. Slide right and then left. Ram. Very light input. And then an early, very early, I don't know, I forgot what I was saying now. Is there anything that you want me to go over again? Anything that you want me to clarify?